Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, and welcome back to another high level game of StarCraft 2. Once again, we have in the bottom left spawning as the Red Terran player playing for Team Storm Gaming. It is SpeCial. And in the top right spawning as the blue Zerg playing for Team NV. It is a Dongre-gu. I'm a huge Dongre-gu fan. I've always been. And I think I will be forever. Seems like a proper fun fella as well. I think he qualified for Intel Extreme Masters Katowice, so we will be seeing him there. SpeCial, of course, also qualified for Intel Extreme Masters Katowice through the Latin American region. Getting first place in EPT points there, as he has in the past, well, I would say 12 years of his career. Every single Latin American tournament that was played pretty much has been won by him at this point. Hatch first, coming out of DRG, following it up with a gas and a pool. Well, we see a more, we see a pretty standard approach as well here from SpeCial. Now, SpeCial is someone that likes to mix in MECH, or well, maybe I should say he likes to sprinkle in bio with his MECH, because it almost feels like that at times that MECH is his standard, is the default setting basically. And in order to get bio, something else needs to happen. He's also a player that kind of thrives in these early aggressive games and often kind of innovative build orders that are slightly different from what we usually see. He's been a fan of these double barracks Reaper openers. He's played a bunch of Hellbat attacks, Hellion drops. He likes a bit of a twist. He doesn't like them standard games too much. And he likes to go into mech as well. So a player that is different from most, I would say. Factory is being thrown down here. There was a factory from an SCV that wasn't the SCV building the depot. Now this is a quick tip and trick here at the same time. Whenever you see a Terran player grab an SCV from the minerals to build the factory rather than use the SCV that's building the depots, that often means it's going to be a double gas opener and not a triple CC before double gas. Now this information is completely useless unless you're trying to impress someone that's really into StarCraft. In that case, you have about a 6-second window to impress them. So when you see that this SCV is still building the depot and there's an SCV being put, you go, oh, this is a 2-gas build, and be like, wow. 6 seconds later, we're like, wow, how did you know that? And you go, well, I just had a feeling, you know? And then you should describe everything except for the tell. So you describe the mining of the minerals, perhaps the map, the path that the Reaper took, and you combine all these two, you know, and then you multiply it by 2, divide it by 6, something like that. And then they'll think you're proper smart. And just like that, you've impressed someone by lying to them. And that is really the only good way to impress someone. Well, another good way is to actually play StarCraft very well. That's what SpeCial usually does. So let's have a look at his build here. Getting a couple of cars out right now. Going straight up to 2 cars, 1 Reaper. Medevac, perhaps? Am I seeing a Medevac? I mean, there's no tech lab here. Could also be a Viking. It's going to be a Liberator. Alright, I like it. I do dig it. Tech lab immediately goes down on this barracks, of course. So Liberator. Now, this could be single lib into a fast 2nd and 3rd barracks. But it also could be double Liberator. Or a Liberator into Viking, which makes absolutely no sense, but is also a possibility. Of course, often Viking into Liberator is what Terrans like to play, because then with the first Viking, they can remove this type of Overlord that can spot the Liberator, right? So, no Overlords over here, no Overlords over here, means that you're going to have a way better time with that Liberator later on. Marines will be able to take out this Overlord. It does get the scout on that first unit, though, out of the starport. Very cool. Very nice indeed. 2nd Liberator on the way. Okay, this is something we hardly ever see anymore. So it's going to be 8 cars into double Liberator. And it's MECH, actually. Yeah. This is a very uncommon build. Just extremely uncommon. And I think that DRG will not realize that this is MECH for a very long time as well. Because of how uncommon it is. Now, of course, the Hellion count is going to keep rising, so that might be a tell. It wouldn't surprise me if these cars get kept at home, at least car 9 and 10. 8 cars is standard, car 9 and 10 is freaking weird. You know, it's there's always a thin line between being a weirdo and a normal person. Like in my high school, for example, it was completely fine to have Pokemon cards, but you show up with the deck carrier of the Yu-Gi-Oh around your arm and people start throwing eggs at you. And it's the same in StarCraft 2. If you have 8 cars, you're a completely fine Terran, but you have 10 cars, and all of a sudden you're a nasty mech player. So I'm a bit surprised he actually is willing to show all of the 10 cars here at the same time. He's going to go for a big run by. This might be a bit of a dead giveaway here. Don't worry, Goose not going to be in time with a wall, but Lynx are in position. Lynx, however, are all going to get destroyed as well. I'm surprised we're not seeing a wall being built while these Lynx were fighting. Mediocre drone split as well out of DRG, who's going to take some very heavy losses against these 10 cars. 12 workers going down. Another queen falls as well. These drones are also going to fall. 18 workers fall. Liberator in the main base at the same time putting in some work as well. One Lib has already fallen. This Liberator only has a single kill. This Spore is moving back and forth, and now we'll get those shots in. 3 kills on the Liberator, 22 worker kills in total, and a lot of Lynx have been built as well. This wouldn't have been so bad had DRG not built this many freaking Lynx. 31 Lynx currently on the map, 43 drones against 62 SCVs. This is a near impossible situation to come back from. I've recently casted a game between DRG and SpeCial, which was very, very similar to this. Extremely good early game for SpeCial, and then DRG just hanging in for, well, what felt like 10 minutes. Curious to see if that's going to be similar here, or if SpeCial this time is going to be way more comfortable finishing this game up. It is hard to win games with MECH quickly. Like, winning games with MECH is very possible, but winning them quickly, that is definitely adding a bit of a challenge in, you know? It's like the difference between juggling with 3 balls and juggling with 12 balls on like a tightrope while there's crocodiles swimming below you. Because winning quickly with MECH, that's not really what MECH is made for. MECH is kind of supposed to bore your opponent to death by constantly killing their stuff and not being able to attack into it. And it's really hard to bore someone in like 6 or 7 minutes. So I do kind of like that we see this initial task force of Heli and Cyclone. Often we don't see that anymore these days. We start with 3-4 tanks and then perhaps add in some Cyclones later on. The reason why I like these Cyclones here are because they put on some pressure and they force out units from the opponent. So this allows SpeCial to keep his lead. If he would have just started building tanks, it wouldn't have surprised me if DRG just goes up to 85, 86 workers, takes 5 bases, 10 gases, and then tries to get back into the game with Ravager Ling Bane. Now he needs to build a lot of units first. As we see, he's building units on 74 workers. And even then, I'm not quite sure if it's going to be good enough to save this base. There's no mech field accelerator yet. Cyclones are targeting down this base. Banelings are all falling as well. A couple of transfuses going down. 2 Cyclones are still going ham. There's no more transfuses actually remaining, but the Cyclones actually lose their lock. And this army gets cleaned up rather efficiently, I have to admit as well. I like that fight. It's almost cost efficient so far for DRG. In total, but of course I think that early game probably wasn't too efficient. I believe that last fight was okay. Upgrades are looking very healthy as well for SpeCial, which I think is one of the main issues in this game. Mech field accelerator still nowhere near being done. This upgrade takes forever, by the way, freaking 100 seconds. These 100 seconds feel like legit 10 minutes as well when you're being Void Rail in, but that's a story for a different time. There's 2 Hellions, or sorry, 2 Cyclones on the map with a bunch of Hellions trying to clear some creep. This barracks acting as a spotter. Not quite sure what he's trying to spot. There's lots of tubers here. See some Lynx move towards the right side as well. Of course, don't want to get surrounded on creep. Off creep surrounds not quite as scary. And I guess surrounds with this little Lynx also just not very scary. Getting surrounded by 6 Lynx is not really the nightmare for a Hellion. Because there's freaking 10 Hellions here. 15 Hellions actually. Very large Hellion count. A couple of Banelings starting to move around. Perhaps want to go for some type of run by. Try to take out a couple of workers. I don't think that's quite going to be viable. Maybe they're just here as a gacha for some Hellions that might want to move around the map. They're ill-positioned to do anything, to be quite honest with you. This Medevac wanted to dodge it rather than catch it. That's interesting to see. Cyclones on the high ground. From the balcony we'll take out a couple of roaches. Well, 1 roach, and maybe this Overseer will die. No. Cyclones are a little bit afraid of fighting this. And this army in general isn't just too good against Ravager Ling Bane. So a couple of these Hellions are going to get taken out, but there's too many tanks there. I don't think DRG can quite engage into that. 90 drones currently for DRG, who is cleaning up a couple of Marines on the left side. Where did that Medevac end up going? I think it might have just died into this this wall of spores and queens, and well, mainly queens and a single spore. The spore is the odd duck in the pond there, that's for sure. 2-1 upgrades. We see heavy investment into range upgrades already as well. I do like that. Makes me wonder what his follow-up is going to be. Are we just... I mean, we're not going to see lurkers, but... I mean, what are we going to see? Is it just going to be Ravager Bane forever? Is that the plan here? Is that the grand scheme that DRG has set up for this game? A good tank position. A lot of them are kind of clumped though, so we're going to see a couple of double biles perhaps on these tanks. Not the greatest biles out of DRG. Will still be enough to clean up this army, and this is the real weakness of that mech army, of course. It's just that moving out with a mech army, you always need to leave units at home to defend, so you're never moving out with a mexed army. Also, let's not forget that this was done off of 87 workers. So you have 87 workers, means you already have lower army supply. There was like freaking 25 supply not there that was being built or was staying at home. Maybe even a bit more, maybe 30, 35 supply. So really SpeCial moved out with what? A 70, 75 supply army. Yeah, a massive Ravager Bane army is just going to absolutely blast that. That's kind of what happened there. Hellions are going to get cleaned up as well, and DRG managed to maneuver himself into a pretty playable position. These Banes are not being microed whatsoever, and will, well, damage this siege tank. Not quite sure if that was a worthy cause, but DRG has a lot of cash in the bank currently, and after an absolutely appalling start, I think he's now in an okay spot. His eco is similar to his opponent's. He has that map control. The creep threat is slightly mediocre. He's losing a couple of workers to this Liberator, which is annoying, obviously. But at the same time, I think this looks quite good, I think. And there's even a possibility here that this base is going to get just absolutely blasted by these Banes, Ravagers, and Lynx as well. And there's not that many orbital commands, is there? We have, what, 4? We're on 4 orbital commands, 12 minutes into the game, and SpeCial really was working with a massive lead. That kind of has disappeared at this point, and that's of course the danger of playing mech. Now, we have often seen Ghost being incorporated recently, especially out of Maru. I think I've seen Bunny do it a little bit as well. Dream, perhaps, with that late game Ghost composition. Makes that mech army just so much more powerful. So for SpeCial, not really going into that type of transition. Still 93 workers though. All of these tanks once again clumped up, double biling them. Makes it a lot easier to deal with these mech lines, of course. And DRG is controlling this quite well. He really is. Sensor tower going down. It's not a planetary, by the way. Sometimes when you're playing mech, I believe that it might be better to not have planetaries in certain locations, because planetaries just make the position really vulnerable to banelings. And if there's no anti-air, like, what really is the point of having the planetary? Like, it provides some damage output, I guess, if you really want to hold the position. But often with mech, because your siege line runs so far back, you don't want to have everything in the same spot. I think it's actually better to have an orbital there so you can lift it. However, if you're moving out on the map, of course, run-bys are just going to be so annoying to deal with. Couple of links when there's no planetary. That's really what the planetary is made for, is stopping link run-bys. Good position here for SpeCial. Beautiful stuff. 108 supply. There's a couple of Vipers out, I think, at this point. Yeah, we see 2 Vipers. Yeah, all these tanks are so stacked. Look at that. 2 Blinding Clouds being cast. 3rd Blinding Cloud being cast. 4 Blinding Clouds catching 10 tanks there. And all of them also being double-biled. Almost triple-biled here. I think DRG did miss a couple of shots there, but once again, I do believe this is going to be a cleanup. No. Position will remain for now. 15 more roaches, 26 more links on the way. SpeCial gets his first good fight of the game. Resources lost, still super close, and that's not quite what you want with mech usually. Of course, you want way more efficient fights. Now, this was a mistake, I believe. These last couple of seconds here out of DRG will clean up these tanks. Now the links come in. Actually, is there enough at home to defend? I think, yeah, there probably is. Still have 1 Viper alive. 2nd Viper will pop out soon as well. And the 3-3 upgrades will finally finish as well. So then the upgrades will once and for all be equal. I like that he went for melee attacks and missile attacks rather than the carapace. Of course, against these high damage output single shot units, armor isn't quite as important as it would be against Marines or Marauders. A couple of Vikings now being produced here. I really would not mind a Ghost Academy and a switch into a couple of barracks here. I think that would definitely be the correct call. I've seen Maru play with that, and I'm thoroughly convinced that that's the way forward for Terran mech. Eventually, every Terran army needs to just consist of at least 10-12 goes, no matter the core composition of the army. Whether that is this Mind Bio or Liberator tank with a small bio force, or in this case just like more pure mech, and then especially like more tank-centric mech. I think Ghost just plays such a useful role in this army at just killing everything. It's just such a useful unit to always have. Now this is a great engagement here, I believe, for DRG. Nice little flank, throws down a couple of blinding clouds as well. Breaks this siege line. Not that many Ravagers though, which means it takes a lot of time to take out tanks. Misses every single bile, actually hits his own Banelings. Doesn't really seem to matter as Special's struggling extremely hard to keep this position. Now we get the lift on this base. In this case I actually wouldn't have minded a planetary. I think it might have been able to hold this position for a bit longer. 10 workers will go down. 40 more Lings, 11 more Roaches on the way, as well as 2 extra Vipers. There's no Vipers remaining as DRG keeps pushing forward, and I think at this point Special might actually be in a little bit of trouble. He's not mining that much money. His 5th base on the far right side is just extremely vulnerable. This base is being taken out as well. Vikings now landing with that smart servos, of course, will be able to transition quickly from air to ground, from ground to air. A couple of biles raining down. Good torches here out of Special, though. Will not eat any of these biles. Is there enough larva? Yes, 24 larva, so more links can be built. The gas bank is a little bit low here for DRG, so indeed links will be all that's on the menu for now. Not that many cars available though, 8 cars currently here. Single tank on the low ground will take 2 shots before it goes to the Terran heavens. Yep, there we go. And now I think I'd be surprised to not see a rotation to that far right side to just take out this planetary. I mean, this planetary is absolute toast. It's being spotted by this Overlord as well. And yeah, there's nothing to repair. It can't lift. And boom, goes the Ravager Bile. Gets taken out as there's no real defense there. And now the attention shifts back to the middle here for DRG. And I think if he just sets up one good engagement here, which doesn't even really need to be efficient, but I think it can be. I mean, he has a bit of a booster pad as well with this creep still being here. Hellion Run-By is alleviating a little bit of the pressure from SpeCial. That is on Special. And I do like that. I wouldn't mind seeing another Hellion Run-By being sent towards this far right side at this point. Just trying to keep his opponent busy for a little bit longer. He needs to at least max out in order to have a decent fight. He's looking for the Vipers, gonna find the Vipers. That is a big deal. He's gonna snipe both of the Vipers. We can smart servos this one. Move back, move back. There we go. Beautiful stuff. However, this position is still very weak. Banelings moving in. Hellions are there, but I'm not quite sure if it's going to be sufficient. Vikings are landing just like in that Heart of the Swarm cinematic. This time the Ultra actually does fall. This is a pretty decent fight here for SpeCial. I don't think he should be counterattacking though. This is an ill-advised attack. This is absolutely not what you want at this point. We need to re-establish. Finally there's some mining going on. And I don't think he can actually take this out. Perhaps a Hellion Run-By into one of the bases would be good. But this full-on attack, I don't think is quite going to work. Ling's already trying to get us around on these tanks. Oh, SpeCial? Was this correct after all? I mean, once these 4 Ultras come out with the Anabolic Synthesis, it's just going to be hard. He takes out one base and should probably go back home. But can he still go back home? I'm not so sure. Vipers are being loaded up once again on that lovely energy. Oh. Ultralisk getting taken out before the fight really happens. Yeah, he can't really unsiege this position though. I love this Hellion Run-By. 17 workers getting killed once again. This left side also still vulnerable, of course. I think these tanks are just gonna die with this position, aren't they? At the same time, we have a Ling Run-By, a massive Ling Run-By, I should say. Back at home, these tanks will get taken out. SpeCial actually making a real game out of this. Once again, these guys just having a fantastic game. The other game that I saw of them was on Hardwire, and it got super close as well. SpeCial ended up winning. Yeah, it's a fantastic game. Actually fantastic game. And this is similar. I'm not so sure anymore if SpeCial actually made a bad call. He probably just made absolutely the correct call. He's way more experienced, of course, with mech than I ever will be. Really understanding how that worked. I really thought that was such a vulnerable spot he put himself in. He's going to be able to take out this base right now. And the army count is so small. There's 2 Vipers, which is going to be very useful, of course, in blinding clouding and perhaps even abducting if he needs to. But his Vipers are going to fall. One tank on the high ground. Is SpeCial actually winning? There's a huge run-by going on at the same time. Another Ling run-by towards his third base. We just have like a couple of armies just kind of semi-base trading, but neither army is big enough to truly base trade. Just like picking off side bases, side base after side base. It's almost a purely Cyclone Hellion-based army right now. And in these small armies versus small armies, if there's no Vipers, you can just keep kiting this forever. Oh, mine's going to get a big hit as well. Mine's actually super useful in this type of scenario. These Lings will get taken out. DRG just has a little bit too much mining, I'm afraid, though. How many orbitals do we have? We have 3 orbitals. A couple of mules could be raining down from the sky soon. Depots are being built as well. I really do believe that SpeCial at this point needs to start working quickly. He needs to start getting a little bit more damage in, because 86 workers on the base count that DRG is on is still just a little bit too high. It is too much, and I think SpeCial realizes that as well. It starts moving forward. Army supply is relatively close, 102 army supply against 90. On creep though, these fights are going to be difficult. Abduct is available, Blinding Cloud is available. I wouldn't mind a single Infestor here for a fungal. Could be really useful. Another base gets taken out while kiting backwards, of course. This is a bit of a funnel that DRG decides to just straight up walk through. The Blinding Cloud doesn't really work when these Cyclones use their spell, and they're going to be kiting these Ultras to death, I think. No. Actually misses the lock-on there for a little bit. Now messes up his position slightly. I think SpeCial might just die here. There's a bit too much DRG. There doesn't seem to be enough mech. And for a second time this game, I do believe that SpeCial is dead. But this time it might be for real. Yeah, I don't really see a way for SpeCial to truly get back into the game. Ravagers being morphed aggressively at this point as well, almost as to say, get out of my game. This left side base has not been spotted yet, but once it does, it is also toast. These SCVs at least will be toast. The base can lift, obviously. Lots of biles raining down from the sky. These Liberators will not be capable of stopping this, what is it? This unstoppable force, I guess. There's no unmovable object anymore. As SpeCial's defense has been broken. And he will ride one final time to fight at Helm's Deep. No, at the Glittering Ashes. Yeah, he's completely dead. 141 supply against 74. 77 workers, 3k mineral income, 600 gas. GG gets called, and DRG, after an absolutely atrocious start. Let's just zoom back into that start here for a second. Look at that. Well, this is way too late. No, this is perfect, actually. This was the situation. Let's not forget about that. After 6 minutes and 30 seconds, 23 workers killed, 55 units killed. Look at this. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Fourth base already was done. That was something, but I mean, you have a completely mining third base for the Mech and Terran, taking 6 gas against a freaking 2 gas Zerg player who's throwing down his Baneling Nest. And yeah, it's very, very surprising that DRG managed to make the comeback. If you need to have this type of early game to be competitive with Mech, then perhaps Mech isn't the way forward. And with that wisdom, I will leave you fellers. Thanks all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy this. I for sure did. And smash like. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.